Good morning. Welcome to the Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Free Press Media Press Inc., an alternative parties books publisher, sponsors this podcast. I'm Andrew Bouchard.
Long Live Alternative Parties podcast. Today we have Catholic Libertarians. They're going to talk about all the exciting things they're doing. So let us get going. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you. Let us get started by you kindly giving us an introduction to yourself, a brief biographical sketch.
Well, I'm in Laredo, Texas, and I teach at the university here in Laredo. I teach economics and finance, and this Libertarian Catholic thing was started by another man, Michael Long, and myself. It was actually his idea, but then he got me involved, and that was several years ago. He then moved to New York State. He does not live in New York City. He lives in New York State in a small town. We have contact sometimes, not frequently, but we do have some contact. So anyway, it's kind of our thing together. But he's doing it in New York, and then I'm still here. And I'm not a politician or anything. I'm a professor, specializing in economics and finance. I like finance, but really economics is more my thing. Like I have my PhD is in finance, but even though that's my PhD in finance, I prefer economics because it's more human. I believe that's very important. Human beings rather than just numbers or money. So I'm kind of, you could say I'm an economist, and I'm a libertarian because I believe that. Well, are you familiar with Friedrich Hayek?
With who?
Friedrich Hayek?
Sure, yeah, I've come back. Definitely heard it.
And, Ludwig von Mises, the Austrian School of Economics. We're going back, Karl Menger, who founded the Austrian School of Economics. I like them a lot. Their economics is very personal. It's kind of philosophical. And so that fits in with my belief that economics is for the betterment of human persons, not just to get more money. Of course, more money actually does usually help people to live better lives. A person with money can usually live better than someone who is starving and doesn't own anything. So certainly having more money is almost as better than having less. But money is not the ultimate goal. The human person is the goal, to live better. And so that's what I try to teach in my courses. And I wrote a book, in fact. It's on Amazon. If anybody wants to buy my book, it's available on Amazon. It's called Personal Economics, Economic Freedom and Work Are Conducive to the Development of a Human Person. Say it again, it's a long title. The basic title is Personal Economics, and then the subtitle is Economic Freedom and Work Are Conducive to the Development of a Human Person. And in my book, I really write about what I believe that whereas economics is not ultimate, but it's very good to help human people develop and become more personal. A baby is a potential person, but a baby needs to develop. A good economic system will help a baby to develop. If a child or young adult has freedom, and I highly value freedom because it's good for personal development. If you have other people telling you what to do, and you don't have freedom, then you're probably not going to develop very well and become an adult. And so freedom is very important, and work, I believe, is also important. Work is part of human life. It's important to produce your own wealth, not just receive everything, not earned, not deserved, just be given everything. Work is very important for the development of a human person. On the other hand, though, leisure time is important also. It is thought sometimes that a capitalist wants people to work all the time, that any time not spent working, time wasted. Well, I certainly don't believe that. There's much good things that people can do when they're having leisure time. So I don't believe that people should spend all their waking hours working. But I do believe that people should work because it's important to live a fully human life, to be independent, which requires earning money, and also to develop skills. That's a way that people grow up and become responsible. So anyway, those are my beliefs, and like I said, I teach, and I also write. I wrote a book, and I guess that's it. What more would you like to know?
I'm interested in how Catholicism comes into place. I know some Christians who would say that libertarianism is not compatible with Christianity. So explain how the Catholicism works together and how the Catholic theology can work with libertarian views.
Well, it's from personalism. And here we have different views of what is to be Christian or what is to be Catholic. I believe, and this comes from Catholic tradition, from the Middle Ages, from people like Thomas Aquinas. I've studied much Thomas Aquinas. It has been said that he was a libertarian. Now,
really?
It's kind of an anachronism because, the word did not exist back then. So we label him that. It's a little bit of an anachronism. But it's not really false because he believed highly in personal liberty. If you read his writings, he had a very high opinion of human persons. And he very highly valued freedom and the mind, the human mind, capitalism. I remember something that Michael Novak wrote. Michael Novak said the way to think of capitalism is caput, that's the head. The head. Capitalism comes from the head, which is where the brain is, which is the brain and the mind are connected. The mind of human persons can work. And now I'm thinking of something from Origen, the great theologian, early theologian of the Catholic Church. Origen said that the ultimate purpose of a human being is to become like God. We cannot become God. There's only one God. We will never be God. But we should become like Him. And the Bible tells us we have the ability to be like God because we are created in the image and likeness of God. And because we are created in the image and likeness of God, we can therefore become like Him. And that is really the purpose of life. Now, how can we do that? Well, it's by developing our minds. And as I said before, economics can be the milieu in which our minds develop. If we have freedom to make our own decisions and learn from our mistakes, very important. I tell you what, I'm strongly against welfare because it takes away the consequences of mistakes. And, of course, nobody likes to suffer. I don't like to suffer, but I do like to learn. And so if I make a mistake, I actually want to know that it's a mistake. Even though I don't like suffering, I do want to suffer a little bit as a result of making mistakes because then I learn and I don't repeat those mistakes. See, and I'm against systems that make it so that people do not feel the consequences of their choices because then they don't learn.
Sure.
So I believe, again, from Catholic tradition, from Thomas Aquinas, from Origen, from others, I'm thinking Michael Novak, I mentioned him, he was Catholic, passed away only a few years ago. The School of Salamanca is another group in the late Middle Ages, or you might even say the Renaissance time period. They were into economics. Others like Cardinal Cajetan. Cardinal Cajetan wrote a book about banking. Very interesting. I've written and I've done a lot of study about the development of Catholic thought with regard to banking and the charging of interest. In the early Middle Ages, it was taught that all charging of interest was usury, and usury is a grave sin, is what it was taught. But then Catholic thinkers developed their ideas about this, and they came to realize that charging interest is necessary, because if interest is forbidden, then those with money will not loan it out. And preventing them from loaning out actually prevents economic development. Like when those with money loan it out, that creates jobs, that creates wealth, that can help, for example, widows and orphans, because at that time, I'm talking about the late Middle Ages, there's a lot of women who would live after their husbands passed away, and they would have some money from their husbands who had passed away, and they could spend it, and then they'd have nothing left. Or they could put it in a bank, get interest, and live the rest of their life, and also raise their children. And also, in addition to that, jobs in banking and jobs in business could be done by people who were handicapped physically, because they don't require a lot of strength. You don't have to be a strong farmer or soldier to work in a bank or some kind of business. So, as a Christian and as a Catholic, I believe that charity is very important. And it is uncharitable to forbid the charging of interest, to forbid banking, because that would prevent widows from living well, orphans from living well, handicapped people from living well. These are people whom, as Christians, should try to help. And in fact, it says explicitly in the Bible you should help these people. And forbidding something that would help them is contrary to charity. Now, again, I mentioned before there's different ways of thinking about what it is to be Christian and what it is to be Catholic. And there's many people who believe that, well, if you're a Christian, you want charitable, that means you got to give. So don't, help widows, orphans, and handicapped people to live better. Just give them what they need to survive. I do not believe that's right, because I believe that as a good Christian, we should not just help the poor to survive. We should provide opportunities so they can live well and be happy and become God-like. Again, they'll never be God. None of us ever will. That's impossible. But we can live according to the image of God that we are, and that's what we should do. And in economics, we should try to create a milieu in which people can live like that.
Sure. So what would you like the Libertarian Party to do? What do you want them, what direction do you want them to go into? Are you happy with where they are now, or do you want them to change, or how do you see that?
Well, this summer, in July, I met with Joy Jorgensen. She ran for president as a Libertarian candidate in 2020. And we had a great conversation. It was very interesting. Libertarians, according to her, are kind of philosophical. We have our ideas. We try to convince others to believe what we believe. And that's not going to win us any elections, she said. She said, I remember something she said. She said, if you're going to win elections, you don't try to convince others to believe what you believe. You try to convince others to believe what they believe. See, there's a little bit of deception there. To win an election, you have to convince others that you believe what they believe, even if you don't. And that's really difficult for me. I believe her. She's, she ran for president as a Libertarian. I've never done that. So I believe she knows what she's talking about. But it displeases me because I don't want to deceive others. I want to just say what I believe. And so, you see, there's a tension. There's a problem here. I would like to have the Libertarian win elections and, gain a place at the table in governing this nation. But I want to do that by deceiving others. And is it possible to tell the truth and yet win elections? And maybe it's not. I don't know. As I said, Joe Jorgensen, who I spoke with in July, she seemed to think that that's not possible. So it's certainly a problem, and I don't have a solution. I wish I did have a solution. As I said, I want two things that might be mutually exclusive. I want to keep telling the truth, but I also want to win elections. And I don't know if it's possible to do both. I'm going to keep trying, though. Maybe it will be. I don't know the future. But that's really what I want. I want a political party where people can tell the truth and also win. If that's possible, that's what I would support. Maybe it's not possible. For me, since I live a pretty good life, I have a good job and a nice house. It's not all that, for me, it's not a crisis. Some others maybe are in a crisis situation. I know that there's some others who, in a much more dire circumstances, maybe the government is harming them in some way, or they need really a change. And for their sake, I really like a change to take place, an improvement. But for my own sake, as I said, I'm comfortable, I'm living well enough, and I'm happy. So, yes, I want a change, and I would support, a Libertarian Party. I vote for them already, and I would do more than vote. I would be much more active if I really thought they could win. I'm ready and willing to do very much and donate money and spend time if there's a real legitimate chance that they could actually win. And maybe there will be. I don't know the future though. Let's hope.
Here's a question for you. I run across people who are in the faith tradition, Christians who will dismiss politics. They'll say, we're not supposed to get involved in that realm. They'll say, that is vulgar, it's coarse, we're not supposed to get involved in this world. We're supposed to focus on spiritual matters. How would you answer that, and how would you convince those people that they should get involved in politics, whether it's the Libertarian Party or some other alternative party?
Well, I believe that every person is unique. Some people can and should perhaps withdraw from the world. I know some monks, I know some nuns. They seem to be admirable people. I never discourage them from, staying in the monastery or the convent. If someone has a vocation, all power to them. I'm not going to try to change them. But I think there's a lot of hypocrisy involved, not with them, but with a lot of other folks who are very much involved in the world, yet claim that they are not. I think there's a lot of people who they don't want the responsibility of helping others and trying to make the world better and standing up for the truth. They are in the world. They're not reserved and contemplative, and yet they claim that they are. So again, if someone is really withdrawn from the world and contemplating God in a monastery, if someone has devoted his or her life to prayer, I have no problem with that. I think that's admirable. But what I don't like is hypocrisy. Sure. Someone who is very much living in the world, very much involved with social activities, and yet claims to be withdrawn and holy because not involved in any kind of political activities that are difficult or unpopular. Claiming that you don't want to get involved in politics because it's unpopular. Well, what I'm saying is some people they don't. It's a certain amount of cowardice. You could say people they don't want to stand up for what they believe in. They don't want to disagree with others. And if it's, of course, I don't want people to be fighting and killing each other. Certainly, I do not want that. But to stand up for your beliefs and verbally express what you believe to be true, even if it's unpopular, and others will disagree with you, is actually good. I tell this to my students. I know that in some universities, if you say something unpopular, something that's against the woke culture, you might be punished in some way. It's not allowed. But in my classes, it is. I always tell my students, as long as you're polite, you will not be punished for disagreeing with me. Say what you believe. I don't want you to agree with me if you don't. That's very important. People, especially young people, often lack the courage to say what they really believe or to do anything that's unpopular. And so, I would like people to be more courageous, not aggressive or belligerent, but courageous to stand up for what they believe even when it's unpopular. And even if they disagree with me, I'd rather have someone openly say what they think, and then we can have a conversation. We can debate. I like debate. Debate's much better than deceit.
Sure. That sounds good to me. That's a lot of good information you shared. It's a good philosophical viewpoint. So for our audience out there who wants to support you, how can they support you and the Catholic Libertarians?
Well, at the moment, we don't have any candidates running for office as Catholic Libertarians. There are Libertarians. That is a political party. So, I mean, can vote for Libertarians. If they want to support us, like, precisely, I would say they should buy my book.
Okay.
And it's, as I said, it's called Personal Economics, and I told you the subtitle. It's available on Amazon. If you forget the title, you can look at my name. I'm Sean. My middle name is T. It's Sean T. Miller, and I'm Dr. Sean T. Miller, because I have a PhD. And as of right now, that's how you could help me, is by purchasing my book. Now, longer term, we might have political candidates. Maybe I'll run for office, or Michael, perhaps he's in the state of New York. Maybe more people will join us. You know, I'm on Facebook. That's how you contacted me.
Yeah.
So other people can contact me in the same way. Contact me on Facebook. Our Facebook page, Libertarian Catholics, is not much used. I would like more people to post things. I'm actually rather disappointed. Ever since we founded this, as I said, Michael Wong he's the one who did it, and then we joined, and we both do it now. But he's the one who started it. There's not much interest. Not many people post things. Some people, they like it. You know, Facebook, you do like. That's real easy. Well, I want people to do more than just press the button and say like. I want them to actually write something. Ask questions. I'll give answers. You know, or, well, I just like something more. As I said, I would, like, if you're, at the moment, I think best people could do is buy my book. Long term, maybe, might have political candidates, or, you know, and just voting for Libertarians. There's other things, there's many things people can do, but our little organization is really little right now. It's just Michael and myself, and we don't even live in the same place. He's in New York, so that's really the situation. I'm sorry that there's not more to do. I'd like to be a real big organization, but we're not at this moment a big organization. We might become one. We might change the world. Don't know the future, but you know, I told you my beliefs and what I would like to do.
Sure. Yes, that's a good start. A good start. Yes. Hopefully you will continue to do well in the future like you're doing now, and we can get these ideas out there.
Yes. And as I said, you know, some of the ideas are actually not new. Like, a lot of it comes from medieval thinkers. They didn't use the same words. You know, the word libertarian did not exist as a word at that time. But a lot of the ideas, you know, the fact that human beings should be free to develop and become God-like, very important. And so I think that even though, like, the details are new, the foundation, foundation is actually old, and that's just the way it should be. I mean, something that's completely new without any foundation in the past is probably kind of ephemeral, whereas something that's founded, you know, like on a rock, is more something that people can count on and believe in.
Yes, that's a good word. So, Sean, thank you kindly for coming on the podcast and sharing your views.
Okay.
And we wish you and the Libertarian Catholics, Catholic Libertarians, all the best in the future.
Great. Hey, how can I watch this podcast or listen to it?
This podcast is on major podcast platforms such as Spotify, also Google Podcasts, and all the other ones too. So if you want to go to Spotify, I plan to tag you in the social media posts that we usually after every podcast we do a post in the social media platform, so I plan to tag you when this goes live.
That sounds great. Thank you.
All right. All the best and take care.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye now.